When Grand Admiral Thrawn showed up in live action in Ahsoka, there was one moment that broke the internet. Thrawn hears that Ahsoka Tano's old master was a Jedi named Anakin Skywalker, and his expression just shifts. Fans immediately split into two camps. Camp 1, he's just now putting it together that Vader was a Jedi. Camp 2, bro has known Vader's secret identity for years. He's just realizing Ahsoka is connected to it. So which is it? Did the single most brilliant tactical mind in the Empire actually know that his boss, the guy who chokes people for fun, used to be a farm kid from Tatooine? Yes, he knew. And the story of how he figured it out is one of the most quietly genius character moments in all of modern Star Wars canon. Today, we're not speculating, we're not theorizing, we're going straight into the canon novels, Timothy Zahn's own words, and tracing book by book, year by year, exactly how Grand Admiral Thrawn cracked the biggest secret in the Galactic Empire, without anyone ever telling him a single thing. Grab your chai. This one's got flashbacks, hyperspace navigation secrets, and a very awkward TIE fighter maneuver. Let's get into it. Let's rewind. Long before Thrawn ever wore an Imperial uniform, he was an officer of the Chiss Expansionary Defense Fleet, operating deep in the unknown regions. This is laid out in Thrawn Ascendancy, Chaos Rising, published in 2020, the prequel trilogy covering Thrawn's life before he ever met the Empire. During the Clone Wars era, Thrawn crosses paths with a young Jedi general, doing what Jedi generals do best, getting himself into trouble outside the bounds of Republic protocol. That general is Anakin Skywalker. The two don't just wave at each other and move on. They actively work together. Thrawn needing help with a mission tied to his people. Anakin needing help finding his secretly married wife, Senator Padme Amidala, and her missing handmaiden, Duja. It's an alliance of convenience, sure, but it's also the first contact point between the Chiss Ascendancy and the wider galaxy. This matters because Thrawn doesn't just meet Anakin Skywalker as a name in a file. He works with him. He watches how Anakin thinks, how he flies, how he fights. That's not something you get from a mission report. That's first-hand data. Thrawn eventually pledges himself to the Empire. This is the plot of the very first Zahn canon novel, simply titled Thrawn, published in 2017. Early on, Thrawn is brought before Emperor Palpatine himself and expresses interest in reconnecting with the Jedi general he once worked alongside during the war. Palpatine's answer? Skywalker didn't survive the Clone Wars. That's the official line. That's the lie every single person in the Empire is fed. And it's the same lie the Emperor tells literally everyone, including Vader's own children, years later. And right after delivering that line, Palpatine introduces Thrawn to his new enforcer, a black-armored, mechanically breathing nightmare called Darth Vader. So here's Thrawn's starting position. A man he once respected is supposedly dead, and standing in front of him is the Emperor's personal attack dog. On paper, no connection at all. Here's where it gets interesting. And in the 2018 novel Thrawn Alliances, Palpatine senses a disturbance in the Force coming from a remote Outer Rim world and sends Thrawn and Vader together to investigate. That world is Batuu, the exact same planet where Thrawn once teamed up with Anakin Skywalker during the war. The novel runs two timelines side by side, present-day Thrawn and Vader investigating the disturbance, and flashbacks filling in exactly what happened between Thrawn and Anakin on that same planet years earlier. Zahn is basically handing the audience the connection on a platter, forcing you to watch Thrawn stand next to Vader in the same location he once stood next to Anakin, and wonder if the two men in his memory are actually the same person. This is the good part. Thrawn doesn't get a neat exposition dump. He builds his case the way any good tactician would. 1, through pattern recognition. Clue 1, the baiting. Multiple times during the mission, Thrawn brings up General Skywalker directly to Vader's face, watching for a reaction. Vader, of course, doesn't take the bait outright, but Thrawn isn't looking for a confession. He's looking for a flinch. Clue 2, the flying. During a space battle, Thrawn watches Vader execute a very specific, very unusual piloting maneuver. It's the exact same move he once saw only one other pilot pull off, Anakin Skywalker, back during the war. For a tactician whose entire skill set is built on reading patterns in behavior and culture, this is basically a signed confession. Clue 3, the Chiss word for Skywalker. In a conversation about his own people, Thrawn casually mentions that Chiss Force-sensitive children are referred to in their language by a word that translates to Skywalker. He watches Vader's reaction to that word land. It's subtle, but it's there. None of these, on their own, prove anything. Together, they're a mountain of circumstantial evidence, exactly the kind of case a mind like Thrawn's is built to assemble. By the end of Thrawn Alliances, Thrawn makes one final attempt to get Vader to acknowledge who he really is. Vader's response is cold and absolute. Anakin Skywalker is dead. Thrawn's reply isn't a challenge. It isn't triumphant. It's just a quiet, knowing acknowledgement that he understands exactly what that sentence means and exactly what it's costing the man in the mask to say it. There's no dramatic unmasking, no "I knew it all along" monologue. That's deliberate. Zahn writes Thrawn as someone who plays every card close to the chest and reveals almost nothing until it's tactically useful to do so. The confirmation exists entirely in what's not said. Here's the twist for the longtime fans. If you grew up on the original Legends continuity, Zahn's own heir to the Empire trilogy from 1991 onward, none of this existed. Old EU Thrawn never met Anakin Skywalker. He never worked with him. There was no Batuu, no shared Clone Wars mission. Nothing. The entire Thrawn-Anakin relationship was invented from scratch when Disney folded Thrawn back into canon, starting with the 2017 novel. This isn't lore Zahn is remembering from his old EU work. It's a brand new thread built specifically to give Thrawn a personal, emotional stake in the Empire's biggest secret. Let's talk business for a second. This connection isn't just a nice character beat. It's a setup with a payoff more than 5 years in the making. By quietly establishing in the novels that Thrawn already suspects Vader's identity, Lucasfilm built a landmine that could go off the moment Thrawn ever crossed paths with Ahsoka Tano on screen. And that's exactly what happened in 2023. The instant Thrawn learns Ahsoka trained under Anakin Skywalker, the weight of everything he already knows lands at once. His old ally became the Emperor's enforcer, and the woman standing in front of him was that man's own apprentice. That's not a coincidence. That's years of planned continuity finally cashing in. Based on the actual text of Thrawn Alliances, and Thrawn Ascendancy, Chaos Rising, yes, Thrawn knows beyond reasonable doubt that Darth Vader is Anakin Skywalker. It's never stated in a single explicit line, but the accumulated evidence, the Clone Wars connection, the Chiss Skywalker word, and the final exchange leaves no real ambiguity. Whether this makes Thrawn more dangerous, why he never uses this information against Vader, or what it means for Ahsoka going forward. Drop a comment below. If Thrawn's known Vader's secret this whole time, why do you think he's never used it against him?